Alright, so today is Chapter 2, Lesson 3, the percent proportion. And the good thing about this is you guys already know what a proportion is. You remember what a proportion is? Okay, let's talk about what a proportion looks like. What does a proportion look like? Do you remember? We talked about it last chapter. Last chapter, you know what? Some things you do in like last chapters like show up in this one, and this is one of them. What's proportion again? What does it look like? Connor? Yeah, like this. Something like that. Okay, that's proportion, right? Yep. Okay, you can have a pattern. How do I know if something's in proportion again? Remember? I can divide. I can use cross products. I can see if it's multiplying. I can reduce. Yep. Yep, I can graph it. See, you guys remember this. Okay, so we're going to use proportions today. What if I ask you this? What if I ask you this? Let's say I have 3 nines equals this, and this is like an x. How would I solve this? Do you remember how to solve this, Jacob? 18 times 3, yep. Then what would I do? Yep, and then I divide the whole thing by 9, and guess what it would give me? This right here. Anybody have any guesses what that x would be? What do you think, Josie? 6? Yeah, it is 6. Because how do I know that? Without doing cross products, what's this? Times 2 times 2, so I know it's going to be 6. Good job. Everybody remember this today. Now that is this ringing a bell to some of you? Okay, because you're going to have to use this. You're going to have to use this. That's why we learned about it last chapter. So, first thing I want you to write down is this. You need to write this proportion down. Okay? And you have to make sure you know exactly what's on top and what's on bottom. And I'm going to write is behind, and I'm going to write of here, and it will make more sense in a second. So, you have to write this in your notebook because this is going to help you solve the problems today. It's going to help you determine where things go in your proportion. 2, 3. You didn't probably have lesson 2 because I was gone that day. That's why you don't have any notes about it. Yeah. So how to solve percent problems using a proportion. And this is the proportion you're always going to use every single time. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways to solve these percent problems. And today is all about proportion way. Then next time will be all equation way. And then after that, you can determine which way you like the best. It's up to you. I want you to find a way you like and stick with it because it makes your life a lot easier then. So today is all about how to solve them using proportions. Part is over total of equals percent over 100. Did you get the is and the of on there too? Because that's a good indicator of where some of your numbers go, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Part over total equals percent over 100. The one thing that's always, always, always going to stay consistent in this proportion is what do you think? The what? The 100. That's always going to stay there because a percent always goes over 100. So that 100 is always going to be in this proportion somewhere. All right, you ready to give it a whirl? Not ready yet? Okay. What number? Yes, it's going to be something like that, and I'll show you what the problems are going to look like. There's going to be about 3 different types of problems you're going to see, and I'll make sure you get them written in your notebook so you can have some good examples like in your homework. Okay. Good, Merrick? Okay. So, this is the type of problem you're going to see. This is one type. Okay, so you might want to write in your notebook. Right here, this is the problem. 45% of 1,500 is what number? Okay. So if I look at this, I have 3 things that I can already put into a proportion. 45% of 1,500 is what number? Okay. So first thing I'm going to put in my proportion is that 100. Because that's automatically set in stone. Now the next thing I'm going to look for is if I have a percent in that problem. Do I have a percent in that problem? Okay, 45, right? So what's that going to go over the top of? 100, yes. 45 goes here. you? Merrick? Did you say excuse me at least? Yeah, every time you say excuse me. That's the way it is. Okay. So, we have our one side set up. Now we have to set up the other side yet. So in a proportion like this, there's always going to be one thing that's missing. You're always going to have to solve for something. So remember how I use is and of? That's the easiest thing to look for what you need to solve for. See how I have of 1500 is what number? Do you see that? Okay, so what is the one thing I don't know up here? Yes, the is. If I don't know the is, guess what can go in is's spot? X, A, B, C, D, whatever variable you want. And of is what? Yep. So what's happening here is I'm looking for part of 1500. I'm looking for what 45% is of this. So I'm looking for this part right here. So now my goal is to do what? I'm going to have to start to do some math here. This is where you use your cross products. Or you can use something else if you want to use something else. It's up to you. If you would rather, let's say I know that 100 times 15 gives me this, so this times 15 is going to give me that. You can look for other ways too, if you want. To me, cross products is the easiest. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this times this. So 1500 times 45, 0, 0, 2, that should be a 5. Thank you. I should have gotten this. Did you guys get this? Did you guys do the math too? 67, sorry, there we go. Did you guys get that? And then you got, no? I'm just cross product, I'm just multiplying first. And now I got to divide by 100. Which I divide by 100, I know it's going to be 675. So what is 45% of 1500? 675. That's my answer then. Okay? Then I'm done. Uh-oh. Sure. You can cross out your zeros. I could do that here if I wanted. Yep. No, you're okay. So 675 should be my answer. All right, let's try another one. Can I go to the next one? Because you're sitting over there passing gas. No, this is going to go on YouTube. So I think the hardest part today is doing that cross product stuff. That's probably the hardest part. I'm hoping it's not that hard in your homework. That's we only got 12 problems. Not a lot. All right, can I go to the next one? Yep, you divide in the end. You take this, divide by this, 100. I just crossed out the zeros because that's what Jacob and I were talking about before. So you take 67,500. Yep. Yep, correct. Correct. All right, I'm going to go to the next one. You right? So here's another question. Okay, now this is a different type of question, but we're still going to use the proportion. Okay? So this says, and I would write it down if I were you, what percent of 1200 is 276? What percent of 1200 is 276? So, first thing I do is I set my proportion. And I'm going to start to fill in where everything goes. So I'm going to slow down a second. did you write down my proportion? And that's going to help you to know where to put them. Okay? So I always know what is always set in stone. My 100. So that's the first thing I'm going to put in. That's always set in stone. Now if I look at this thing, I have what percent of 1200 is 276. So do I know my is and my of? Okay, so I can put my is and my of right away. So my is goes on top, 276. My of is on the bottom, according to your proportion, if you wrote that down. And guess what I'm missing this time? My percent. So, there it goes right there. Okay, so now I can use cross products. What else could I use? Can you see something else I can use? What if I divide by 12? See how I took this to get to that? Could I divide by 12 to get that? I could. Or I could say, okay, I know this times 12 gives me this, so this times 12 is going to give me this. Or I can use my cross products. There's so many different ways you can do things. What would you rather see me do? Cross products? Yes? Okay. Let's do cross products. So I'm going to multiply these two. And I know that's already going to be this, because I can do that in my head. Does everybody understand how I did that in my head? Multiply by 100, add 2 zeros. Or move the decimal 2 spaces. Then I have to divide by 1200. Let's see. 3, probably 2 times is my guess. 2400. And then I get 0, 6, 3. Oh, this is going to come out very nicely, I believe. Should be just 3 times. Sure, I could have got rid of 2 zeros. That would have been a good idea, actually. 3600 and 0. So here's my answer. But what is it asking me for again? The percent. So what do I have to put behind that number? Percent thing. Yep. Nice job. Nice job. Alright, let's do another one. See, this isn't so hard, is it? I don't think this is hard at all. Alright, let's do another one. Let's do one at a time. I feel like we got a lot going on here. We'll do one at a time. We'll do this one. 12 is 20% of what number? So, first thing I'm going to do, set it up. 12 is 20% of what number? So I have 12 is 20% of what number? See how I section it off? It kind of helps you determine like what's there and what's not. Okay. Let's see. 100 is always going to go here. And I have a percent, so I know a percent can go on top of that. 12 is, where's that going to go? Top of what number? Now, you're going to use cross products to solve, which should be a very easy one to solve, actually. Let's see. I get 1200, divide by 20, 60. I feel like 60 is the answer. 60? Okay. So 60 should be my answer. So do you understand that 12 is 20% of 60? You understand that part? Okay. It's just one way. You want to try another one by yourself? Let's let you try one by yourself instead of me doing it. You want to try this one? What? Not necessarily. Usually you're either going to look for the is, the of, or the percent. Does that make sense, Cadence? There might be 4 different ways. Yeah, there might be. But you're always going to look for the is, the of, or the percent. So either those 3 are going to be gone. 100 is always going to stay. But there might be different ways to say them. Yep. What number is 46% of 835? one comes out good or not. You might have to round it. Yeah, it's going to come out to, it's going to stop in the 10th spot. So it's 3 numbers, and then a dot, or a period, or a, oh my gosh, decimal, and then a number in that 10th spot, and then it's done. Do you need to use the restroom? No. Okay. That's enough. Hold it. Okay. Get it? But try your best. At least try your best. So if you set it up, this is what it should look like. 46 over 100 is equal to 835 over x. Is that what you did? Okay. And when you multiply these two, what did you get? Anybody get something that made sense? What was it? Oh, 10. Okay. And you divide it by 100. Goes in 3 times, right? Minus 300. 84 goes in 8 times. So far, so good. Bring down the 4 and the 0. Goes in 4 times. Minus 400. And you're left with this. You can bring down another 0. Goes in once. That should be your answer. Okay? I'm looking at the numbers in your homework and they're not crazy. So that's good. So how are we feeling with this? Pretty good? Okay. So just remember, if you need to use your notebook while you're doing the homework, please get your notebook out to help you make sure. And you might want to have your notebook out anyway for that proportion. Remember, I'm going to show you, if you're not a fan of this way, I'm going to show you another way the next time we get together, which could be Friday. I'm not going to teach you tomorrow. We're not going to have time. Which could be Friday, which could be Monday. So I don't want you to think that this is the only way how to solve these problems. There's another easy way to solve these problems too, and I'll teach you that way as well. And then I want you to decide which one you like the best. Okay? Some of you might like this way the best, but you haven't seen the other way yet. You don't know. Let's see. Let's go. Can I show you one story problem before we leave? I have plenty of time. Can I show you one story problem? Because there's going to be a few on the homework today. Okay. There are 500 students in East Middle School, and we won't solve it. Let's just set it up. Is that all right? We just set it up. There are 500 students in East Middle School, and 325 of the students are in the after-school program. What percentage of students are in the after-school program? So, I'm going to start out by setting this up. And what is something I know? I know my percent, right? Do I know the percent? No. So what's that going to be? Sure. Okay. Now my question is, which goes where? Which goes where? There are 500 students in East Middle School. Okay, you really don't see is and of in here, do you? Too often? But what one's the total, Ryan? So where does the total always go? The bottom. And you know what? Another easy way to remember this is exactly how I find your percentages on your homework. I put the total possible on the bottom, right? Same thing here. How many are you got right or whatever goes on the top. So it's the same way that I set up your homework when you get your homework assignments back. Okay, so your total is always on the bottom. That's a way to remember it. Then you would solve the problem. I don't really know. Should we figure out the percentage? I'll do it for you. I'll make it easy. 32500 divided by 500. Anybody got a guess of the percentage? Let's guess. Is this over 50%? Okay. So what do you think? Not at 70. It's not 40. This is over 50% of this, right? So it's got, 80% would be closer to 500. This is actually 65%. Is that what you guessed? Oh, good guess. Aw, Josie. Anybody have questions for me? How to do this? Can I give you the last 5 minutes to work? Okay.